Star Trek Lower Decks Review, Season 1, Episode 3. Okay, well, number one, something Doc said pre-stream was right, but we can get back to that in a minute. The one thing I want to kind of it's a weird thing with the show, and I kind of understand it to a certain extent, but I think it's a slight misunderstanding either on my part or the writers, but like they treat these ensigns as if they're the lowest of the low, and they're not.
No, there's a rank below that.
Yeah, there's a whole series of crewman ranks below ensign.
Okay, see, I was confused there because, don't know really much about Star Trek. I thought ensign was somebody's name.
No. You thought his name was Ensign Kim?
No, I just thought his first name was just like ensign or something.
No, yeah, ensign, lieutenant, lieutenant commander, commander, captain, and then the admirals. Those are your officer ranks. But below all that, you have all your crewmen.
There's a bunch of crewmen below the ensign. Ensign is the lowest of the officer ranks. But who has an entire ship of all officers?
Yeah, that doesn't make any sense. That's way too many officers. Like, yes, we on a normal Star Trek, like Voyager or Next Generation, you'll see crewman such and such as a side character or a character that's just like the focus of one episode, but we don't usually talk to them because they're not heads of departments.
Yeah, they're just background ponies.
Yeah,
but like you still have the background ponies, even though you don't actually see them all that often. Like, what kind of show would it be if the entire series revolved around just the main six? Like, you need those background characters to flesh it out.
Yeah,
well,
they don't get the focus very often because.
Well, we would never see Applejack.
Anyway, yeah. They sleep in a hallway. Okay. Well, the big thing was that the captain doesn't know about buffer time. Now, if the lower decks the quartet of lower decks were crewmen, even if they were high level crewmen, or if like Boimler was an ensign and the rest were crewmen and he was in charge of them and that was the dynamic, like that would make sense. Like, because if the rest of like the lower decks crew were mostly non-commissioned they weren't commissioned officers, they were crewmen first class and that sort of thing. Like, if they were, then it would make sense why buffer time might have slipped her by, because like she was never a crewman. She could have gone to the academy, came out of the academy as an ensign, because that's what happens in today's in the US Navy. You can go in as just a sailor and work your way up, or you can go, if you can get in, you can go to the Naval Academy and jump straight to officer. Essentially do the same thing. So, like, if Boimler was the ensign in charge of these people and he didn't understand buffer time, but they were always messing with him by having buffer time, like, it would make sense. But assuming she ever spent any time in lower decks, which, given she was probably an ensign at some point, it doesn't make sense she wouldn't understand that. It's not like, I imagine buffer time is a new idea. Like Scotty was like, yeah, you don't tell the captain it's gonna take 4 hours. Like, you tell him it's gonna take 8, and then you surprise him with 4. And
And I really like buffer time.
and though the fact is that the captain, having been an ensign at some point, knows those sorts of things and knows, okay, that's why they ask such ridiculous things when they're told, oh no, it's going to take 8 hours. You have this in, they say, you have this time. It's because I know you're BSing me. I've been down there. I know you're BSing me. Especially any captain that spent time in the engineering branch. Like, they know you're BSing them. So they're just like, no, no, no. I know you're BSing me. I know you can get it done in this amount of time. Get it done.
Yeah.
Well, see, honestly, I hate, and my job does this a lot, where it's like, oh, you got this done this fast, and they just like keep on throwing more and more work on you, where you don't get like a moment of breath. It's like,
Yeah,
if you keep on
eventually.
doing that, the work's gonna get sloppy.
Yeah. Yeah, you can get this thing done fast, but you got to understand when you've set up something, oh, this is a rush, this has to be done now, and somebody gets it done for you really quickly, it's like you're it's kind of like in a video game if you use an ability that lets you go faster, but it's got a cooldown. You got to respect that. Yeah, they just busted butt to get that done, but they can't go at that speed consistently. That's max warp. You want to
Yeah.
aim for cruising velocity.
And honestly, I mean, that's kind of built into current legal, like OSHA regulations. You need to have 15-minute breaks and half-hour lunches at least, depending on how long you're working.
Yeah.
Like, legally, you have to take breaks.
I don't
Yeah.
think OSHA exists in space.
Yeah, but at the same thing, they still, well, I mean, there was that Voyager episode where there was that giant ocean in space. But the thing is, there is that whole, you would think they would have more worker friendly regulations now. I mean, in the Starfleet as opposed to now.
Yeah.
Like, now it's kind of a battle between workers' rights and corporations, whereas in the future it's supposed to be a utopia and yada yada. So they should be considered taking into account the workers' physical parameters as opposed to just, oh, keep working like a robot. Except for you keep working like a robot because you are.
Well,
No, but even the androids get vacations.
all this from when you were talking about OSHA, I wanted to wait till you finished, but in my head, I got a thought of a Klingon OSHA. This is not safe. But you imagine they have something of that kind, but
Exactly.
But it's just hard to imagine a Klingon, oh no, we got the
A
ocean.
Klingon in a hard hat and a clipboard being like, this bird of prey is not up to snuff.
Yeah, it's that sort of thing. But yeah, I mean, it's...
Okay, so I just had a thought. I'm curious on something. So, Star Trek has like replicators and all that stuff, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm guessing in the future, Star Trek, when it takes place, like money is pretty much obsolete, right?
It is.
Okay.
Though it's weird because there's people who own property, and so, like, how did they get a hold of that? It's
true. And they still do utilize money interplanetarily because, I mean, there are the Ferengi.
Okay. Well, but for the most part, money is not really a thing. Then what's the benefits of working your ass off then?
For the
promotion. It's glory. It's promotion. It's the benefits of office.
Ah.
Because yeah, you want to, if you get to, it's some of the same things they sell people on, like at that point in in sort of Federation history, nobody really has to do anything if they don't want to, because they can just replicate anything. Anybody working is doing it to get, an extra little something here or there, or or for, I enjoy this, I enjoy doing this, and so like a lot of the tedious, nasty jobs have already been sort of eliminated by automation. So some of the cool, yeah, I work on the warp core, that's fueling the eastern seaboard. It's like, that's cool, you know. Yeah, they might find that cool, and so there's a lot of that. And with Starfleet, you get to go to space, meet cool
Yeah.
aliens. Like that's how they sell it. And don't you want to be cool, like Captain Picard, or you know or Cisco, or somebody? Don't you want to be somebody cool like that, or discover? You have tons of opportunities if you're more science in it. Don't you want to explore the stars and learn about all these new things? We're always finding new things out there. Like every day, new stuff's coming in from all these scientists on Starfleet ships, scanning new nebulae and nebulae, nebulae, uh,
It's
stars and planets and new things that they're discovering all the time. New forms of life, fascinating exobiology, just, all these things, or, being a cool, security officer, keeping everything safe. And there's probably perks like that, and it when otherwise you don't really have to do anything, boredom is like the worst punishment, because you just, so going into Starfleet is like, hey, I get to see the galaxy, I get to meet cool people, and explore strange new worlds, seek out new life and new civilizations, to boldly go where no one has gone before, unless, well, at least eventually you will, like, but you're gonna have to spend some time on some second contact ships first.
yeah.
Speaking of all the workers, like busting it out stuff, I'm not good with the names yet, but I'm surprised the cyborg dude didn't like run like a program. It's like, okay, what's the most efficient way to do all this?
Because his cybernetic implants are actually not that helpful. If you notice, it keeps glitching out on him. In the first episode, it's like he was on a date, and or was that the second episode? He was on a date, and it's like, oh, it's making me unable to feel feel my emotions properly.
First episode.
Yeah.
Okay, another question. This is like the intro. Who are the ships fighting the Borg?
Oh, those are D'Deridek's Romulan warbirds, I believe.
Okay.
I think I'm doing it from memory, but I'm the Romulan I remember, and I think they're D'Deridek's. At least that's what Star Trek Online calls them, so I'm assuming they got that right. Because they're massive nerds too, so they probably got that right. Or at least they made up something that sounds right. So, but yeah, the green ones. And
crystals.
what would have been a funny thing with the whole ransoms, like, where's your scars? Like he does all that and he looks cool, and she's like, yeah, he's actually can fight. Like where are your scars? And he, like, at the end, like when she's bragging about her scars or something, it's like, that's a cool scar. Yeah, I just have mine removed. Like, I don't get why you want to look like scratching
Yeah.
toes. It's like, yeah,
I don't know. I think scars are cool.
Yeah, show badass
but
you
he
are.
does, and he's like, why would I bother having scars when I can just not? And it's
Bro,
like,
I have like a ton of scars already, and I am proud of every single one, even the stupid ones.
Same.
I don't think I have any. Well,
Bro, a
yeah,
scar is, and I have a really piss poor memory as it is, so they're reminders of important moments.
yeah. I don't really have much in the way of scars. But yeah, we should. I like their big, their big guy is just like, no, actually, I'm not stupid. I just do that because they like it.
I like read
Yeah.
books.
I like reading books. It's like, well, what if we just do, with a judge and all this? And he's just like, a
That's right.
race. It's like, oh.
Build me the crystal car that runs on crystal meth. I mean, crystals.
I wonder, like, these were supposed to be they're just joining the Federation. Like, I'm wondering what the parameters are for joining the Federation. Like, they're probably like lined out, and I'm wondering if a functioning judiciary is like one of the top things you have to have in order to be to join the Federation. Just like you have to have an actual functioning judiciary, just where judges and juries
Well,
and
honestly, do Klingons have one? Because I kind of imagine they also did the trial by combat.
well, but they're not part of the Federation.
Oh, they aren't. Oh, they just have a
Also,
treaty.
their trial by combat is an internal thing, not an external thing, because they consider they consider other cultures to be dishonorable swine, and to have have a trial by combat, that would be granting them the honor of their fight.
I can respect that.
So it's like, you're not worthy to fight me, bitch. Know your place and back down.
Yeah,
Basically, is what a Klingon does.
yeah.
They don't have the same care about people. They're like, you don't deserve trial by combat. Sit down and shut up.
Now, Vulcans would definitely have a system of justice.
They do. And fun fact, Vulcans actually do have a trial by combat for a particular reason.
Oh my.
Yeah.
And yes, it is that reason.
You have to go back. Yeah, you have to go back to TOS for that.
No, because there was an episode. It was in an episode of Voyager as well.
Oh yeah.
Blood Fever, where B'Elanna did trial by combat with what was his name, the Varric.
Oh yeah,
because he wanted to mate with her, and she's like, I ain't mating with you.
Yeah.
And so they had a trial by combat.
But yeah.
He tried to mind meld with her to make her his mate, and so she had blood fever and he had blood fever, and it's like, well, let's let them fight it out of their system. Because she tried to mate with Tom, and Tom's like, okay, I totally would, but you're under the influence of this, so I'm not going to, even though I really want to, but no.
Oh, damn.
Yeah.
Because it's like, that's like taking advantage of you when you're drunk, but you're drunk on lust, so no.
Yeah. And yeah, so like, yeah, what are the parameters for a federation? Like, because there's, we know some. I think we know some things, but I don't know. Like, is even the death penalty a thing in the Federation?
Maybe there's a list online.
No, it isn't.
Yeah, so they may not allow a Federation member to have the death penalty for anything.
That depends, because I think they do still have their own judicial systems, and so they are like,
Yeah, but there's the rights of Federation citizens. There's that whole uh, list of rights, charter of rights or something that the Federation has, and you have to also abide by that. That sort of trumps whatever local stuff's going on. So they have to do something. Like if something doesn't match up, they're gonna have to fix it before they're allowed to do anything.
I'm also guessing to join the Federation, you would either A, need like a strong military force, in case they need your help in a battle or something, or B, like good trade and something that they can share with other cultures and stuff.
But
Like, we have pointy sticks. I have a phaser.
yeah, well, yeah, they've got several layers of things you have to like. They wouldn't let for a long time. They wouldn't let Bajor couldn't apply until they were all figured themselves out and got their stuff right. Yeah, the charter of the United Federation of Planets. Caste-based discrimination was prohibited. Yeah. Here's a whole segment of it. Admittance into the Federation can be granted either by invitation or successful petition submitted by a world civilization or government desiring to join voluntarily. In the second case, membership was granted only upon satisfaction of meeting certain requirements and conditions. Firstly, the government of the prospective member submitted an official petition to the Federation Council outlining its desire to join. A lengthy, thorough investigation of the prospective member's culture followed, including copying records from the applicant's central computer. The investigation could last several years and was done to ascertain whether or not the culture genuinely shared the values of the Federation, values of benevolence, peaceful coexistence, and cooperation, the rule of law, justice, and equal rights and freedoms. For example, the discovery on the petitioning planet Angosia 3 of enhanced soldiers being unjustly and indefinitely imprisoned without treatment in times of peace was considered unacceptable in Captain Jean-Luc Picard's official evaluation of the planet for the Federation. Even before the investigation, the prospective member had to meet certain requirements. They were followed. It had to have an advanced level of technology. Federation baseline definition of this term was the capability for faster-than-light travel. Its government should have achieved stable planetary political unity, just demonstrating resolution of social and political differences and a respect to the rights of the individual. Membership was still considered if there was an isolated faction present that did not want membership, but this was a rare case. No form of caste discrimination was to be practiced. Yeah, so they had to sign on to all the rights and things. It's basically like if somebody joined the United States, if a country just like joined the United States, we annex somebody like Canada or something, we just annex it. Like they would have to fall under what's under the US Constitution, and if they had something that violated the US Constitution, that would be voided, or they would have to remove it before they could join. And then even if there was anything left that didn't match up, that law or thing would be voided by joining the US. So it's like the other supreme Federation policy, and then that. So it makes me wonder exactly how loose those requirements can be.
Damn.
I guess it's in that way. It's also like the EU gathering members. It's just like, but anyway, which also implies if they became, well, I guess they did have ships, so they must have had, and they must have had faster than light travel because that's the bare minimum for even
Yeah.
considering. So they were using crystal spears, but they had warp technology, which seems a little, odd.
I
But
mean, why not use the classic?
I mean, I guess you have the Klingons. They do love them some melee weapons. But they also carry disruptors. It's like,
I mean, if the crystal sticks shot beams or something, that'd be slightly better. I mean, actually, they did to do graffiti.
Yeah.
Yeah, they didn't really use those that well, did they?
Well, I mean, that's kind of the way I see it. It's kind of like they were giant pencil type things where sure they can write, but it's either draw on your face or stab you with it. I'd be more worried about being stabbed with a pencil than being written on. Mostly because I write on myself.
Yeah.
yeah, I think, and I'm a little surprised that they were so aggressive with the Cerritos crew. Oh, this is an act of war against the Federation. You want to you want to start a war with the Federation? Like, okay, but if you're a single planet and you start running out and attacking Federation ships willy nilly, like that stuff's gonna get shot down pretty quick.
Yeah.
There's ambassadors are gonna try and solve the problem without having to resort to that, but a galaxy shows up and goes, "Hi guys," no. You just sort of send out an attack group and go, okay, you're gonna start a war with us? Okay. Here's a galaxy, maybe some Akiras. Maybe a Defiant flies in once in a while. Yeah, we're gonna just blockade your planet until you're done attacking us. It's like we'll just disable the engines of anybody coming up, and we'll just take them prisoner, and then we'll return them at the end of the when you've decided to behave. It's like they'll be in timeout until you decide to behave. Okay, you're behaving. Okay, you want peace? All right, here's peace. All right, here's your people back.
And all because
Wood.
wood.
All because that bullion had a bit of wood.
Well, I mean, it's for want of a nail. I mean, like if Boimler hadn't accidentally said something about buffer time,
Yeah.
then they wouldn't have gone. The captain wouldn't have gone crazy trying to eliminate buffer time, and then the Bolian would have been rested enough to find it without he would have, oh yeah, okay, that's over here. I'm not gonna grab the wood thing. That's gonna make him mad. Let's grab the crystal of honor, and then everything would have gone smoothly from the very beginning, and it would have been a really boring episode. Probably.
Almost definitely.
They'd get into some sort of trouble. It's just
I mean, sometimes you can't help it.
yeah, well, yeah. I mean, even the Enterprise gets into trouble now and then, but yeah.
Now and then, the Enterprise is always getting into trouble. And half of it's Riker's fault.
Now, Melly, I feel sorry for Boimler. This thing named after the most laziest man in the universe.
I know. And now for someone more, now for the most important person in Starfleet history.
It's like,
Miles
whoa.
freaking O'Brien. He kept DS9 working. He freaking
And
nobody
the
else could keep the damn
Enterprise.
thing working because it was trying to make Cardassian technology a Federation. He was the only one who could freaking figure it out.
I knew Dex would be chuffed about that one.
I'm sorry, but
How hard did you squee when you saw that?
I didn't squee. I don't squeak.
You squeed. You squeed. You squeed. Admit it.
I don't squeak.
We all know you squeed.
like every time I hear the word Cardassians, I automatically think, not the Kardashians.
Oh God.
Like they just sound so familiar.
To look up a chibi version of Kardashians, and like, what is it? Keeping Up with the Kardashians or Following the Kardashians? Isn't that a show?
I think Keeping Up with was a show.
I need to get I need to look up that poster and draw it with Keeping Up with the Kardashians.
And it's just pictures of Ducat.
Yeah. Because why not?
Ducat, Damar, Garrick. That Leggett from that one episode that was dying. Anyway. But yeah, which was the whole first thing starting, the whole kickoff to this whole thing was, it brings Kardashians brings us back to the beginning because it was supposed to be on Cardassia Prime, but nobody wants to go there, so they moved it to Vulcan.
Because Vulcan is so much cooler. At least Cardassia is like a little more entertaining. And I bet the dancing would be cooler too.
Well, I mean,
Vulcans aren't known for cutting a rug.
Yeah, it depends on what the who are the negotiation who's the parties in the negotiations. Like, if you have somebody that's a hot world or somebody with a world that's, you know, on the warmer side, Vulcan's great. Vulcan's hot. At least, you know, hotter than Earth. If you got somebody who's, you know, more cold weathered, well, you can send them to Andoria. It's like they'll be comfortable there. If somebody's in the middle, or or they don't care, just send them to Earth. It's send them to Paris. It's like, oh, look at all the architecture. Like, it's like, oh yes, this is the capital world of the Federation. This is the capital city. Oh, look at all the artwork and all the nice things we have around us. And we're exceedingly secure. Like, nobody's gonna do anything in Paris. It would be it would show some testicular fortitude to go and try and pull anything in Paris. On Earth, in the heart of the Federation. It would be a pretty ballsy move.
I mean, I always thought Paris was straight, so trying to pull your balls out on Paris wouldn't be very helpful.
But given that's the capital, like, it's the capital of the Federation, but which is kind of interesting that they chose San Francisco to be the home base of Starfleet, but Paris to be the it's like having the Pentagon in, Alaska. It's like, what? I mean, technically it's still part of you, but why Alaska?
Because nobody suspects Alaska.
It's just a long
Because
way from
because come on, let's face it, Alaska is cool.
Yes, quite. Dangerously so in certain parts of the year.
Yeah, I
um,
love it.
but yeah, we're just like, oh yeah, our White House is in Paris, our Pentagon is in San Francisco. Hmm. But I guess it doesn't really. When you have transporters, it really doesn't matter. Like, oh yes, I need to be at a meeting with the president of the Federation in 10 minutes. Hope there's not a lane. Just like, oh yes, I'll just take the transporter. Whoop, I'm there. Or if you don't, what sounds funny to me is, okay, so imagine there's a line for like they're working through a lot of people trying to use the transporters in the Admiralty office to go separate places. And so it's like, I don't want to deal with this garbage. He like there's a ship in orbit. It's like, oh yes, the Kitty Hawk. Uh, hailing the Kitty Hawk. What can I help you with, Admiral? Teleport me to Paris. Don't you have transporters? Yes, but they're busy and I don't want to wait. Okay, Admiral. But it's this is an interesting episode that asks some funny questions about the state of this thing.
Yeah.
And I think Lower Decks might have been even more interesting if uh, if Boimler had been the only like officer in the group, like, or if
Yeah.
he was the officer and Mariner was still an ensign, but she was on probation or something, and so was made subordinate to
Yeah,
Boimler, but always gives him heck. But
like
then again,
how
Tendi doesn't make as much sense because she's kind of that fresh out of the academy sort of perspective. So Rutherford's been there a while, but Tendi is like, I think Rutherford had been there a while. I think.
Okay.
at least longer than Tendi.
Yeah, Tendi.
But it's funny because there are so many parallels to Tom and Harry with those two, with Mariner and Boimler, because like Mariner got Mariner is like, she was a higher level, I think, at some point, but got demoted and got like thrown down to the lower decks.
Yeah, I think she was
And
lieutenant and
Tom
got
got
demoted.
demoted.
Same thing happened. Well, Paris got all the way
Lieutenant,
to the prison colony, and
well, he got demoted for disobeying orders and
yeah, he
was
was.
for an entire season.
Yeah, he went from lieutenant back down to, but he got busted back down to ensign. Like, no, you follow orders. Stop doing that, Tom. If I'm gonna have you as a lieutenant, I need you to be able to do that. Like, yeah, that's the thing about this whole thing. Not to belabor it too much, but like ensigns should, in theory, be in charge of a bunch of uh, non-officers. You know, the enlisted. Like, they should be in charge of a bunch of crewmen. Like, but like,
No,
no, he's just.
if if the ensigns are all in like little cubby holes, where do the crewmen sleep?
Oh, it's the same idea, except for have you ever seen a Japanese capsule hotel? they don't
Vaguely.
they don't even have the open side. They can just roll out. They have to climb. They're in a little tube. No, they make them sleep in the Jeffries tubes. Anytime they need to work on something, they have to go wake somebody up out of the Jeffries tubes. Like, okay, I got to work on the conduit.
No, no, no. They sleep in they sleep in sick bay, like that episode of Voyager where they closed down some of the areas to conserve energy, so they all double bunked and didn't have any place to sleep. So Neelix and a couple of crewmen stowed away in the sick bay.
Okay, so episode idea for a Lower Decks episode. Somehow Boimler clones himself, so there's dozens of him, and the ship becomes the most well-run ship in the whole entire fleet.
You know what's funny? Normally, well, I mean, I am a bit of a Boimler. Like, I do like times and I do like rules. And I do like structure like that.
The rules are good. As long as the rules are smart and not stupid, they're fine.
As long as the rules make sense.
Exactly.
I appreciate rules because they give structure. Plus, like, especially dealing in customer service, it's like, I'm sorry, but that's the rule. Like, I can't change the rule.
And as some people have said, it was a quote from somebody: "OSHA rules are written in blood." Like there's a reason why that rule is there.
Exactly.
Why, hello. Long time no hear. I missed you too.
Yeah.
I swear sometimes it seems like they're circling. With how long it takes for them to get past.
Nah, they do an air show just for you. God damn, this one's a long one.
Seriously. It sounds like they were circling. Ooh.
Well, it might be touch and goes where they just practice takeoffs and landings. They come in, they just touch the runway and then take back off.
Ah.
That
See you
might be
next
some
week.
of it, but anyway, any other thoughts on this episode?
Let me think.
I was going to say something and then the plane hit and I forgot.
I swear that guy lathers himself in oil.
Oh,
He was way too shiny.
Ransom?
Yeah.
Wasn't there a Ransom in a Voyager episode? Or in a Next Gen episode?
It sounds familiar, but I can't place it.
Yeah.
I think I'm in the same place as you. That sounds familiar, but I can't place it.
Yeah, like, I'm gonna have to look that up. It would be interesting if he was mentioned in another series.
Rudolph Ransom.
Rudolph Ransom?
Captain Rudolph. Captain Rudolph Rudy Ransom was a Starfleet officer.
Okay,
Yeah.
He was the one who was killing the little alien wraiths in order to increase his warp drive.
Yeah.
Oh my.
Yeah. He's that guy.
Yeah. They basically, you remember the Doctor Who episode Father's Day where they had those chronovores who were like chrono
I remember
wraiths?
the episode you're talking about too. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I'm explaining to
Madrock. Okay.
To Madrock because he's not as big a Trekkie.
Mm-hmm.
But you remember Father's Day where Rose stops her dad from getting killed, and so those little wraith things come out and try to kill him anyway.
Yeah.
Okay, so they look kind of like that, but smaller and are green. And they go and burst out of portals and attack people. And it turns out it was because they were summoned as kind of a happy praying to the spirits thing, but then Ransom accidentally caught one and realized that, oh, its life force can be used to power my ship. And so they were kidnapping them to use them to power their ship as fuel. And then they were like, dude, stop killing us. And they went to attack them. And Voyager got the distress call and tried to rescue Ransom's ship. But then she realized Janeway is like, whoa, 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 what are you doing now? And so she tried to just throw them in the brig and try to diffuse the situation. But Ransom and his crew ended up sneaking off back to their ship and ended up blowing up their ship.
Damn.
But a few of
Yeah.
them, a few of the people on the Equinox were still on Voyager when it blew up, so they kind of got. They eventually, I think they got folded in, didn't they?
Yeah.
A few off the Equinox did, and then they got folded into the Voyager crew.
Yeah.
But it was.
Because Ransom realized what they were doing was wrong. Janeway made him see the light, but his first officer, who was actually an old friend of B'Elanna's, was D-bagging like, no, we're gonna go home. We're gonna keep killing these things. And Ransom's like, no, you're not. And so he sided with Voyager's crew to blow up the Equinox to stop them from killing more creatures. And hey, there was the Doctor Who and My Little Pony references.
Oh yeah.
Okay. I think we've had quite enough.
Yeah.
This is almost a 50-minute review at this point. And the
Hey,
lawnmower
good
has
for
come
us.
in. So I guess we'll call that a review.
If that's what you're gonna call it.
Yes, that's what I'm going to call it.
Okay.